is no stranger to the observer. Let me say a pleasant good evening to Attorney at Law, Mr. Gail Taka Singh. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, good afternoon, everybody to you and the listeners.
Thank you so much. Well, you heard, of course, I don't know if you heard the press conference earlier on. We just played a clip there of the line minister for CPEP, the Honorable Barry Pallarat. And one of the things that stood out there, he said that the Central Audit Committee in the Ministry of Finance has made it clear that CPEP has been red flagged. I don't want to get into the whole operations of CPEP. That's something that will have to be cleared up. But from the legal perspective, when something is red flagged as far as auditing and what have you, what does that say? What does that mean?
Well, so let's take it from first principles. As a minister or a board or a company, where you have decisions to make, you have a duty in law, it's called a Tameside duty actually in public law. You have a duty in law to properly inform yourself of all of the facts and circumstances surrounding that decision. Now, an audit is an excellent tool to ensure that all relevant information comes to you so that you can act upon it and take the necessary decisions. As Mr. Minister Pallarat has said, there has been an audit. The CAC is the Central Audit Committee of the Ministry of Finance. That's a very powerful committee, powerful auditing committee. If they have conducted an audit and they have found red flags, quote unquote, or they have found inconsistencies, or they have found what you call weaknesses in the checks and balances of the company, then that's a cause for serious concern, not only for the government, not only for the minister, but for the taxpayer of this country and for each and every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. And therefore, what that says to me is that the minister and the government had a duty to act and a duty to do something in order to restore the integrity of the system in CPEP, the company, and with the CPEP program. And therefore, if, now I don't have all the facts and I certainly don't have the audit, but if that documentation or that report had justification for the termination or the discontinuance of contracts, then so be it. That is a minister and a government taking hard decisions, taking perhaps some unpopular decisions, but taking decisions that will ultimately benefit the people of Trinidad and Tobago and the taxpayer and save our taxpayers' dollar. So I can see no difficulty with it if that is the justification being given. It seems to be sound and sober reasoning and sound and sober governance. So I don't quite understand where all of this, fanatical and hectic commentary is coming from about, people, this looks bad, and I saw the Express editorial today. I don't understand it, especially if you don't have the facts. What you have a duty to do is to investigate, get more detailed reasons and explanations from the minister and the government, which will come in due course, and then make sober commentary. But what I really don't see what is the issue taking place here. CPEP, as you know, Mickie, CPEP is a company which is really a program that has been turned into a company that is meant to be an incubator program. When you register as a company there, you get work, you get community development work and community cleaning and environmental maintenance in order to develop your reputation and standing as a company. Gives you experience in managing labor, it gives you experience in dealing with a state entity, it gives you experience in being a company. You now have a track record. And then you graduate from the program into the private sector fully. So it struck me as very odd when I heard that contracts where persons would have had tenure of already 3 and 5 years, etc., coming and rushing to be renewed on the eve of election for another 3 years, it means that you're not graduating. And it means that perhaps you have outlived the need for CPEP, or that CPEP isn't serving you as a contractor, and you need to move on and fight in an open market. So I really don't understand, again, as I said, from a legal perspective and from a common sense perspective, why all of the hullabaloo over these terminations.
Well, I think, okay, from the perspective that you're saying, what say you when folks say, listen, I have a contract, I have a legal binding contract, whether I got it on the day of the election, whether I got it on the night of the election, the fact of the matter that everything was addressed, the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, it was signed off by the person who was authorized to sign it off, and I have all legal right to have this, and the government cannot take it away from me.
Absolutely, and every single person has a right that is recognized by the common law of something called freedom to contract. You are free to contract as you see fit, and when you sign on a contract, it means you accept the terms of a contract, whether they benefit you or whether they do not benefit you. I have litigated over CPEP contracts for both sides, against both administrations, because as a lawyer, you take briefs as you get them. That's my job, to be an independent lawyer. And I know, at least in the last contract that I litigated over, the CPEP has termination clauses. The CPEP contracts, they have termination clauses. There's termination for cause. If you breach the contract, you don't pay NIS, you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't comply, your standards of work are poor. Those are what you call causes for termination, and the termination clause for cause can be invoked to terminate the contract. There is also included, as far as I am aware, and in most contracts, although I can't confirm for these, mutual separation termination or voluntary separation termination, where either party with 30 days notice without reason or cause can terminate the contract. So if the CPEP company decided to exercise that clause, they need not provide a reason, and you're not entitled to a reason for it, because you have freely contracted to say, I accept that you can terminate my contract without cause and just give me 30 days notice and send me marching. So again, holding on to legal arguments and contracts only gets you so far. It still does not impeach the decision to terminate the contract. So where are we going with that?
No, we've heard from a battery of lawyers, that's what we were told, a band of lawyers from the opposition.
Who the battery of lawyers?
Well, this is a band of lawyers, a battery of lawyers.
A band of lawyers.
Yeah, a band
practicing
of lawyers.
Lawyers who actually practice in court.
Well, lawyers who have the credentials, let's just put it like that.
Oh, okay, just checking.
Whether they're practicing or not, they have the credentials.
Oh, I see.
You even have those that are senior counsels, as far as we know.
I see, yeah.
Former prime ministers.
There's a saying, Mike, you tell lawyers, I have lawyers, right?
But there you go. And they are saying, listen, I am going to defend the rights of these contractors. It's unfair when you look at what's going on. Opposition leader, former prime minister, a former attorney general, all of these people. And you know what stood out to me in all of this narrative here? And I find it interesting. When it's being mentioned by these very same individuals, PNM lawyers.
Right.
Isn't that something that we were looking at for quite some time when people were trying to say that's a UNC lawyer and those are UNC people and the court is not fair because they're UNC players? Now today they stand proudly, not on the fact of dealing with justice and what is fair, but to now deem themselves as PNM lawyers. I mean, that in itself says a lot.
Yeah, correct. Now, to the first point, let's again, I like to say first principles. Insofar as you wish or you state you're going to defend the rights of these contractors, the rights of the contractors are prescribed in the contract. And if the contract has termination clauses, it means that the contractors agreed voluntarily to the terms of those contracts, and having done so, the contract can be terminated according to the clauses which you agreed. And therefore, what rights are you defending? You can't go back in time and say, well, you know, I should not have entered that contract. You did, you signed and you accepted the clauses, and therefore you have to accept it as a matter of course and as a legal right. So I'm not quite sure what my learned seniors are attempting to argue by saying that they're going to defend the rights of contracts. Their rights are limited and circumscribed to the four corners of the contract. So then there's nothing there. Unless you can argue something like rescission, and that's a fancy word in law. It means if you're going to rescind the contract, you make it as if it never happened. So if it was entered into by duress or something like that, then you set it back. But then that would be the PNM putting them under duress, which makes no sense to me. So this is a lot of showmanship, I believe, using the law, or let's call it the facade of a legal argument, of a naked legal argument, to perhaps encourage persons to rally around the People's National Movement politically. But it makes no sense legally to me, and I can't understand the basis for it. The other concern I heard as well, that there are many people on the breadline now. Well, okay, when a contract is terminated, the contractor will have employees, no doubt, and the employees now may find themselves temporarily without a job. But we all know how CPEP works, where a contractor uses labor from a community to do the works in the community. If another contractor comes in, the other contractor will use almost the very same labor to do the very same areas. That's how CPEP works. That's how the contractors work. We know that. That's what happens. Everybody knows that. So there's a political reality which has to temper this narrative being pushed by the media that all of a sudden the United Congress comes in and Labour has lost. That is absolutely not true. The UNC is the staunchest defender of Labour in this country, and they would never take decisions to hurt Labour. You may have some temporary disruption because we have a bigger issue to fix, that being the integrity of the system in CPEP and the sanctity of that company's operations. But ultimately, the political and factual reality is that Labour will be rehired from those communities, whether it be under the same contractors, if they apply and get back contracts properly, or under new contractors who get the contracts and use the very same labor from the communities. So what's the problem?
Well, what's interesting here, if you look at what was posted on the Facebook page of the former Prime Minister and Senior Counsel, Mr. Young, he said that he has been contacted by many affected citizens, and he said that he shall be reviewing this victimization from a legal perspective to establish what action can be brought against CPEP Limited and the government for these premature and cruel terminations. Very strong language.
Well, you can't have it both ways. As a lawyer, when I sit at my desk and a brief comes at my table, I have to have an open and unbiased mind. I look at the documents, I look at the information, I research the law, and I consult with a colleague, and then I come to an opinion on the matter. That's how lawyers operate. I cannot say, having not reviewed something, all of a sudden it's victimization and it's targeted, etc. How do you know that if you haven't reviewed it yet? So with all due respect to learned senior counsel, I'm confused by that statement. You can't both be reviewing and having concluded victimization. If you're reviewing, then review. And I suspect that when you review the documentation, when you review the terms of the contract, when you review perhaps when you get in your possession some of the findings of the audit and findings of non-compliance with the company, I think it will be found by any court of law that the actions that were taken were proportionate. While there may be some temporary disruption and fallout, it will soon be resolved when new contractors are put in place, or very same contractors, some of them may very well be renewed after a review is done, and that there would be no real legal issues coming out of this.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I really truly believe that there are people who are trying to get political traction as much as possible on this issue. Yes. When you look again at what was said by the former Attorney General and Minister Faris Alwari, who said that outside of the swearing-in ceremony for our leader of the opposition, he was quoted in the media warning of a reign of tyranny. And he said he came under condemnation in newspapers and among social media commentators. Saying that hundreds of people at various state entities have also been left jobless, talking about RDC, talking about 500 at WASA, and what have you. And seem to be spreading this narrative that this is just a tip of the iceberg. The government's main intention is to have people unemployed on the breadline and to set some sort of dictatorial, essence in everything that they're doing. I mean, we're bordering on some very dangerous things here.
Again, I think that's dramatic. That's extremely dramatic. With a change of government, there's going to come naturally a change of personnel in very key positions. Central bank governor was one, boards of state entities are one, corporations would be one. So that when you have a change of government, in order to effect the policies of your political party, which the people decided overwhelmingly to adopt, you're going to have to find persons to implement that policy. And the persons to implement that policy have to believe and support that policy. They do it better when they believe and support that policy. So naturally, you're going to have a change of personnel in these institutions throughout government from top to bottom. So if that is what he's referring to as a reign of terror, then I don't know what we should call. The word hasn't been invented to describe what the PNM did for the last 10 years by keeping many sectors and classes of the society out of the reign of power.
Yeah. I want to move it on the issue of the Prime Minister's pension.
Yes.
Mr. Young lost, of course, as the bill was passed. Legislation requiring persons to serve at least 1 year as Prime Minister in order to qualify for the pension was passed. But the opposition, of course, the PNM, abstained from the vote.
Yeah.
Break that down for us. I mean, people are walking around saying that yes, it's a lot of money. Some are saying, listen, you know, is this man being unfairly targeted? Some are asking at the same time, you know, when so little is being given or afforded to us as citizens, there are people who are going off with quite a large sum of taxpayers' funds. Break it down for us. What transpired? What did we witness here?
Well, let's take it step by step. The legislation, Prime Minister's pension bill, or the amendment thereto, had two simple objects. Well, one simple object. It was to create a tier system or a category system to rationalize compensation of pension or rationalize pension payments for prime ministers contingent or dependent upon length of service. Let's simply put, it created a system whereby the amount of money you receive in pension will be linked to your years of service. No one can object to that. It is a fundamental principle of this device we call a pension and pension law, that a pension is based on 1, length of service, and 2, contributions. That's how pension law has developed for hundreds and hundreds of years in our common law. Those are the two things you look at. Now, when it comes to a prime minister or high office, you tilt towards length of service as opposed to contribution. And that's all it is. So the government has said, look, a prime minister should receive its full pension if he serves his full 5 years. If it's less than 5 years, it's going to be a little less and gradated down accordingly. Nothing is objectionable about that, and I think even the PNM says nothing is objectionable about that going forward.
Right.
Where the objection seems to take place is on 2 limbs. The objection, they say 1, retroactive effect, and they say 2, it is ad hominem. Break it up. Retroactive means that the law is going to apply going backwards. There is nothing wrong with law being applied to situations in the past once it does not take away rights. Now, in this case, the argument is that because it's being applied retroactively, you may be taking away an accrued pension of a certain individual. I don't want to call names, right? So, but our law says that even though retroactive legislation may infringe constitutional rights, it can be done with the sufficient majority. And that is a democratic system. Our constitution says that we have constitutional rights. The legislature can interfere with those rights with the right majority. And that is a recognition that if a majority of the population wants to get something done, then it can pass legislation which interferes with individual constitutional rights. That's in our constitution, so it's a part of our law that we can pass retroactive legislation with retroactive effect, even if it interferes with constitutional rights, as long as we use the right majority. So the retroactive legislation argument is really of no moment. What Section 13 of our Constitution says is that you can do so as long as the measure is reasonably justifiable in a democratic society. So let us ask the question that any judge, any court, any privy council will ask. Is it reasonably justifiable to protect the treasury from, because had this gone through, had it not been disturbed, you're talking about $1 million a year.
Right.
Over what, 20 years or 30 years, $30 million for someone who may or may not have served for one day or a few days as prime minister. And what we say, it is more than reasonably justifiable. What the UNC argues, it is more than reasonably justifiable to interfere with that right to collect $1 million a year when you really only served in position for de minimis period of time. So that can't be right. And therefore, in my view, the law, there's no legal problem as it pertains to retroactive legislation, a retroactive effect. So let's just summarize that, because I want people to understand it. I'm hearing a lot of different narratives, and I think it's a duty of a lawyer to explain the law to the public.
I agree.
Retroactive legislation can interfere with constitutional rights. But our Constitution allows the interference with constitutional rights if you have a sufficient majority, which is the 3/5 majority. We have that in Parliament right now, so we have the democratic mandate to pass legislation to interfere with constitutional rights, and therefore we can pass legislation which has retroactive effect in this case. This was an issue that was raised on our political platforms, Mickie, that it was unfair that certain persons would get a pension having only served a small amount of time in the office, and that the person may or may not have been democratically put in that position. So it was front and center of the political campaign. And Section 13 says reasonably justifiable. It is more than reasonably justifiable for us to protect limited financial resources in these hard times, and instead of paying somebody $1 million or thereabouts a year as a pension, having only served in the position for a few days, they should be paid less, or they will collect their regular MP salary. It's not as though they're getting nothing. I think that is eminently reasonable. Nothing wrong with that. No retroactivity argument, in my view, should succeed. The next argument, the other argument, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
No, I agree with you, go ahead, I agree with you 100%, go ahead.
Right, so the second argument they raise is ad hominem. What they say, ad hominem, is simple principle. You ought not to pass legislation that targets a certain individual or a certain class of individuals. You could very well make the argument, and I think I heard one of the speakers make the argument that this could only potentially and possibly apply to one person. So be it. But the ad hominem doctrine is not invoked is only invoked where there's some type of, how to put it, penal sanction. So for instance, I cannot pass a law today criminalizing something in the past. So if me doing an interview with Mickie K, if they passed a law today saying doing an interview with Mickie K was criminal, that should only go forward. So Kyle knows if I do that, I could get jailed. But you can't pass legislation to say, well, 1 year ago, if you did an interview with Mickie K, it could be criminal. That is how ad hominem and retroactive works. Means that you're targeting me specifically. That can't be right, right? You can't ad hominem target me for doing it because there's a criminal sanction attached, right? The other thing is, like, the other examples are like tax law. You can't pass a law to tax me for something in the past. If you pass a tax law where you're going to raise taxes, then it should only go going forward, so I can plan my tax business going forward accordingly. That's where the ad hominem doctrine really comes in place. Let's apply it to the current system, the current situation. What is the penal sanction, or what are we taking away from the said individual through this ad hominem legislation? What are we taking away? Absolutely nothing. I'm not even sure he has actually received a payment thus far. I don't know, perhaps a month or two. But even if that is the case, A, what has he done to deserve the pension payment of $1 million a year? Respectfully, and I mean that with the most respect, not an attack on him, but in terms of service. And two, what is the fallout? What are you being deprived of as a result of this ad hominem application, if you say that? Absolutely nothing. So there's no problem either with ad hominem legislation or calling it ad hominem and asking the court to intervene or saying that it's unfair. Absolutely not. All that the government is seeking to do here, in my view, is achieve two objectives. One is an economic objective. It is a waste of $1 million a year, or I shouldn't say waste, that's a strong word. It is wrong to pay $1 million a year, or it is perhaps that $1 million could be better spent on other things as opposed to paying a pension, which is somewhat undeserved. Two, the second objective is a political objective. There must be a sense of equity in your society. How would other workers feel who are struggling with their pensions and struggling to get basic benefits feel knowing that a gentleman served in a position for a few days and now is bestowed a pension of almost $1 million a year? That is ensuring social equity, and that is a legitimate political objective alongside a legitimate economic objective, which I think defeats any ad hominem argument. And therefore, Prime Minister's pension bill for me needs to pass and should go forward, and the independent senators, with all due respect to them, and all of the Senate, in my respectful view, ought not to thwart the will of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and they should allow this legislation to pass because this is what the people want.
And I agree with you, and I think that clears up those who have been saying this is not important, it's not something that we should look at as a priority. And I think you've made that quite clear, looking at the fallout that it can cause moving forward. It has to be addressed. It just simply has to be addressed.
There is a sense of injustice in this country, and there is a sense of inequity, and for too long, there has been a sense of a lack of fairness in this country where people feel that certain classes and segments of society benefit more than others and have an easy road to success and wealth where other people do not. And that is a reality. How are we to manage a diverse society like Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm not only talking race, I'm talking class, everything. If we cannot use legislative tools to correct injustices and imbalances, and that is what the government did. All the government said is that this would look patently unfair that the highest office holder or politicians could enjoy this kind of benefit while the ordinary man has to struggle to get their NIS and struggle to get their old age pension and all of these things. Absolutely wrong, and I think that's a legitimate political objective of the legislation. And this should really be supported. This should not actually be controversial.
I agree with you.
Yeah?
I agree with you. Thank you so much for taking time out to highlight this first. I agree with you 100%. I mean, we get bombarded. I get bombarded with people asking about their NIS and when does it start, and they don't know. And here it is. They have to just simply stand by and look at this injustice play out, where someone would have gotten a lump sum of money. And the question is, for what?
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah, and again, that's no disrespect to the gentleman, you know, but the point is length of service. Pension is a concept where you are compensated based on one, voluntary contribution, and two, length of service. And the applicant in this case fails at both. So why are you getting such a lucrative pension? That can't be right, and that trickles down a sense of unfairness and injustice into the society, which could only lead to dissension and discomfort in the society, which the politicians and the government have a responsibility to correct.
I agree. Thank you so much again. Keep up the good work, and we will, of course, be checking in with you periodically to break these things down when they do happen. Right here.
Anytime. Take care to you and listeners.
Thank you. Hey, folks, when we come back, we're speaking to Voices in Blue, Roxanne Paul. What's happening with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service Social and Welfare Association, the elections, and well, so much seems to be playing out in that. So police officers, everyone, all stakeholders, we'll be right back to deal with that topic.
Limiting chronic inflammation is important for so many conditions that occur.
I had a lot of pain 4 years ago.
I used to have pain in my knees and my hip.
Taking it for arthritis.
Omega XL saved my life.
Then I started to realize, but hey, I could use my hands, I don't have any pain.
All in all, I am pleased to say that New Omega XL has worked.
Oh gosh, this place hot. And the AC in this car not working.
Check Ryan Air. Ryan Air is ranked among the best in TNT for auto air conditioning service. They specialize in repairing and servicing all makes and models of vehicles and heavy equipment. They also stock a wide range of parts. Give them a call at 640-5828 or visit them at number 41 Cane Farm Road, Tacarigua, or email ryanairac@gmail.com. For prompt and efficient service, look no further than Ryan Air. For all top quality and affordable hardware supplies, no one beats Midland Hardware, located number 97 Eastern Main Road, Aruca. Midland stocks the #1 brands in hand tools, garden tools, water tanks, power washers, generators, water pumps, kitchen and bathroom faucets, along with face basins and toilet sets, blocks, lumber, steel, sand, gravel, and topsoil. Also check out Midland for steel windows and assorted designs of metal curtain rods. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or call 646-2144. Open every day from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's all at Midland. When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction, industrial maintenance, manpower resources, transportation and lifting, and equipment rental, excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss. Husqvarna, a global leader in outdoor power equipment, known for its high performance, durable and innovative products, tested and proven by generations of professionals. Full after sales and service support whenever you need it. Contact Provar Distributors Limited, 223-9438 to find a dealer near you.
The XL brand delivers quality service.
I would recommend Omega XL to everyone.
Take care of yourself, take care of your health with Omega XL.
If Omega XL works for me, it will work for you.
Over a period of time, I started feeling stronger in my knees where I could add more pressure.
Oh gosh, this place hot. And the AC in this car not working.
Check Ryan Air. Ryan Air is ranked among the best in TNT for auto air conditioning service. They specialize in repairing and servicing all makes and models of vehicles and heavy equipment. They also stock a wide range of parts. Give them a call at 640-5828 or visit them at number 41 Cane Farm Road, Tacarigua, or email ryanairac@gmail.com. For prompt and efficient service, look no further than Ryan Air.
Thank you, Master Control. We are back, and of course, we're talking about the election, and that election is the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service Social and Welfare Association election that is upcoming. If I'm not mistaken, it's tomorrow. But to tell us more about it, we do have one of the candidates who is vying for the post of secretary on the Voices in Blue slate, and she's a spokesperson for Team VIB. Let me welcome Miss Roxanne Paul. Good evening, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mickie, and the wider listening public.
Yes, good to have you on. I believe the election is tomorrow?
Yes, it is. It's guarded for tomorrow, please God.
Guarded for tomorrow, please God. All right, I want to go on record, first of all. I want to clear something up. When it comes to police officers, I'm a bit soft-hearted because, you know, when you have people that put their lives on the line and their main objective is to do their job and make sure that they get home to their families at the end of the day, I don't think that there should be anything when it comes to playing with their lives, playing with their livelihoods, playing with resources, playing with anything that is going to assist them in doing the job. And I think too many times we've had that taken place. So I want to make that clear. That's how I feel personally when it comes to the lives of these men and women who make that sacrifice on a daily basis.
I agree, Mr. Mikey T.
Great. So tell me, Ms. Paul, first of all, who is eligible for tomorrow's election?
Well, according to the Police Service Act, the persons that are supposed to be eligible to be members of the association are police officers from the rank of superintendent come down. Team VIB, in our vetting process to get prospective candidates for the slate to represent the team, we would have made some discoveries, especially with the positions for the SRP rep and the municipal police rep.
Right.
So the discoveries we would have made is that part of the Police Service Act that I told you about, the membership that is needed to constitute the association. And also, when we tried to communicate with a municipal police officer, he informed us that our association can't represent them. So we were surprised. And I said, why? He said to me, that's because we have our own association. And I was like, really? When was this association formed? And she told me it was on the 8th of July 2021 that the Municipal Police Association was formed and incorporated and all of that. So my president and some other members, we did some research into it. And that is how we stumbled on the information. And the reason for this is because the Police Service Act states what I would have said before. But the SRPs, they have their own legislation as well as the municipal police. So the SRPs in their Act 1503 in section 6 states that the Commissioner of Police is the person to lobby for them about their welfare and everything and take that to the minister, who is now the Minister of Homeland Affairs, Mr. Honorable Roger Alexander.
Right.
Right? So the municipal, I would have explained that already as well. So we would have voiced our concerns in a letter to the Elections Committee. And also, since the Act for the SRP state that the Commissioner is the one to really represent the SRPs and seek their interests, we would have already CC'd him too as well with that letter, asking for response within 7 days to know our next course of action. So with this information, the president of Voices in Blue and the team members decided, okay, we are going to take a stance and act within the permits of the law. And we refused to send up a candidate for the SRP rep and the municipal police since we had this information now. We never got a response until 18 days later from the election committee. However, it was addressed to the chairman of the elections committee, and that letter would have come from an attorney, Neptune and Neptunes.
Right.
Right? The subject of that letter to us was response re-letter. So this is the response we got for the letter that we sent to them 18 days later. So that letter would have stated to us on page 12, the last page of the letter. Let me just pull it up so that I can read it as it was sent. I don't want to misquote anything. Give me 2 seconds.
Page 12?
Yes, page 12.
All right. I think page 11, okay.
The last page of the letter. Right?
Right. I think we have it up there.
All right.
Right.
So it started actually from page 11, where they did address our concerns. We are looking at the conclusion. All right. So they said, in the circumstances, this letter was sent to the president of the chairman of the elections committee, Mr. Mickie, where they would have written to their attorney seeking a resolution to our claims. So they said, in the circumstances, we are to advise that having perused the rules that govern the operations of the association, together with relevant judicial pronouncements, we are of the considered opinion that there are no existing rules which debar or disqualify special reserve police officers and or municipal police officers from participating in or contesting the upcoming executive elections of the association. Accordingly, in respect of the issues raised in the correspondence dated the 5th day of June 2025, we are to further advise as follows. A, the legal basis for allowing SRPs, I'm shortening it, and municipal police personnel to be registered as voters and or candidates in the said election. The 2023 association rules as amended allows for participation of special reserve police officers and municipal police officers as voters and or candidates in the 2025 executive elections, as they are members of the association and entitled to enjoy all benefits consistent with such membership. The extent to which such participation has already occurred and been facilitated by the associations. Members of the association who are special reserve officers have participated as voters in all elections of the association for over 25 years and currently have representatives who sit on the central committee. Similarly, members of the association who are municipal police officers have also participated in previous elections, including elections of the executive committee, consistent with the membership, and also have members or representatives who currently sit on the central committee. C, immediate removal of any special reserve police officers or municipal police candidates from the ballot and voter list, and public disclosure of verified lists and eligible candidates. All right, moving down, they would have said, considering the foregoing, once these members are in good financial standing, it would be legal to seek to sanitize the voters list for the said election and remove their names therefrom and or disqualify them as candidates. D, a review of Mr. Anand Ramisar's candidacy and immediate disqualification based on the breach of clause 15, based on the fact that Mr. Ramisar has served 3 consecutive terms as a member of the executive committee of the association, he is ineligible to serve on the executive committee again, in accordance with Rule 18A2 on the 2023 association amended rules. The election committee may therefore be called upon to revisit his candidacy. We so advised. So, Voices in Blue would have seen that as their first win in this entire campaigning, Mr. Mickie. However, today, another document was sent. It was circulated, and it was sent to...
Master Control, I believe we have that one, the bulletin?
Yes.
We do? Oh, there you go. Right. So the bulletin says that the election committee, after careful consideration with reference to rule number 18.2, has decided, in accordance with rule number 17H, Assistant Commissioner of Police, ACP, Anand Ramisar, the candidate vying for the post of president on Team Equity in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service Social and Welfare Association Executive Election 2025, carded for Monday 30th June 2025, is, and underline is, eligible to contest same.
Yes, Mr. Mickie. However, the rules they would have referred to right? 17H, this is what it states. All matters concerning the validity of any election or election procedure shall be determined by the election committee, and no questions or queries concerning the validity of any election shall be entertained unless it reaches the election committee in writing within 72 hours of the election. However, my point is, Mr. Mickie, this was dropped today, less than 24 hours of the election. So, that rule they would have referred to, we cannot respond about what was said because it is less than 24 hours before the election. They have not given us a fair chance to respond according to 17H. Are you following me?
Loud and clear. Loud and
Very
clear.
well.
And the question would arise, of course, then why is this election moving forward?
That's right. That's right. Then the other rule they referred to, 18.2. A member of the executive committee shall be eligible to serve only a maximum of 3 consecutive terms. Just what their attorney would have indicated.
Right.
Hence the reason he advised them that way. So why is it on the eve of the election that this is what they would have dropped and circulated, Mr. Mickie? This is our concerns. Because I am asking on behalf of Team VIB, why was the legal opinion ignored? Who gave the order to defy it? And on what basis did they suddenly decide he was eligible without any explanation, without transparency, and without accountability? Was it political pressure, favoritism, or fear? This is not just about one candidate, Mr. Mickie. This is about the integrity of the entire election process. This is about trust. Trust that has been shattered by secrecy and last-minute decisions. Because if the elections committee can ignore their attorney's advice, what else are they willing to ignore? The rules, the constitution, the will of the members? We must ask ourselves, if this is the standard of leadership some wish to set, what else will they sacrifice for power? Can we really believe in equity when the rules only seem to apply to some and not others? This election must not be built on lies, deception, and loopholes. It must be built on principle, honesty, and service to membership.
No, Ms. Paul, these things are in black and white. I want people to understand that. These rules were not created overnight. These are rules that members have to abide by. So again, the integrity of that should not be compromised. Then why is it that what we're witnessing here is a moving of the goalposts to benefit a few, while the rest must remain silent and do absolutely nothing? I mean, one of the statements you made is that soon you'll just be able to have an open sort of a situation where fire officers, prison officers, anybody could come in. Because again, what was said about the 3 terms, that in itself was echoed in the legal advice, the legal correspondence. Then now we're hearing something that's being flipped, that in itself doesn't matter. I mean, all of this, when you look at it, just does not make sense. Who is afraid to have a free and fair election among the TTPS? Who?
I wonder. I wonder myself. The playing field is not level, Mr. Mickie. It's not level.
Yeah, I think that, my thing is that we were going to discuss, and of course we will, what needs to be changed, changes that need to be implemented, things that are going to better serve the interests of the officers, the main stakeholders, but not the fact that we have to come on the eve of an election and talk about the fact that the entire process has been compromised, it lacks the integrity, and we're talking about people who hold high office and should know better. I mean, if it is that they can't run an election in the interest of the officers, then my goodness, what can we expect them to do when it is that they're given these positions and this post and what have you? First of all, I need to ask you, do they expect you and others to just simply stay quiet?
Apparently that's what they expected. But I must say that Team VIB is not going to be quiet. Voices in Blue are going to let their voices be heard.
And it always seems to be a selected group, a selected few that seems to be holding down and, of course, breaking down the morale of the TTPS. And many of these individuals would go on pre-retirement leave, not to come and share or to help build the organization, but they go into private sector, they go into whatever places, and the young ones are the ones who have to suffer. Now we're seeing again that they seem to be pulling strings behind the entire scene to only benefit them. This is madness.
I am seeing, and from my humble opinion, this election seems to be biased.
But it reeks.
Yep.
It reeks. When a letter was received from the attorney of the Elections Committee stating that the presidential candidate, and we read that out, for Team Equity, that is also vying to lead this organization, is not eligible to contest the post for president. Now today, less than 24 hours, you get correspondence that says that it's all clear that this individual is eligible and has all rights to contest. What are we really doing here?
I don't know. I don't know. And I would like someone to intervene and deal with this issue. And we also intend to deal with the matter and look at the entire electoral process through attorneys.
Yeah, and that's the last thing that we wanted. And how is that going to benefit the officers, the members, the stakeholders? I mean, to have this thing tied up in court. Yeah. All right, let me ask you, let's just pause for a second here. Your team, of course, you have Vice President PC Gopal, Assistant Secretary WPC Mitchell Samuel, Trustee WPC Brown, another Trustee PC Fleming, that I know is a good guy. You have the Treasurer Sergeant Blackman, yourself Secretary WPC Paul, and of course your President Sergeant Warwick. This team, of course, that you are a part of, what does it really represent, and what are some of the changes that they want to bring about to benefit those people who are serving?
Okay, our team, first of all, I believe that Tobago has been neglected for far too long. So we have proposed the construction of a police station for Scarborough that is long needed, to establish a sub-office of the PTPSSWA in Tobago so that they can go there and voice their concerns, deal with human resources, eliminating the need for them to travel to Trinidad for basic services. We have also proposed, to begin with, a hospital wing that we would like the Prime Minister to consider for the police officers and by extension military personnel. Because according to the standing orders, Mr. Mickie, when a police officer falls ill in the line of duty, you are supposed to go to the nearest health institution in your uniform, sit there and wait until you are attended to. However, we are saying enough is enough. We put ourselves out there on the front line all the time. And what we are asking for to begin with is a wing dedicated to us where we get proper treatment, premium treatment. We don't have to go to the police training college to see a doctor for him to write a referral for you to go elsewhere now, to pay for blood work, pay for an x-ray, when that facility is due to reopen by the goodly Prime Minister, the Honorable Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessar. We are asking that she considers that the members of the TTPS and by extension other military personnel, that we have that wing, we have that comfort for us and our immediate relatives, where we can rest in comfort, because being in a public hospital, our security is at risk, our family's security is at risk. So when we are isolated, there's a better degree of safety for us. We'll get better treatment because the facilities have state-of-the-art equipment, if need be, 24-hour service. Someone is injured in the line of duty. If a surgery has to be performed, we can go there and get that done. If you need post-therapy, post-operation treatment, we have the physiotherapy department there that we should be able to utilize, and also have a maternity ward in that wing for our immediate relatives. You know, that's one of the main proposals. We wish to start there. Then there's also a police hospital that was already constructed years ago by opposite next to the fire station in Pinal that has never been utilized. If we can get that facility too to be reopened, well, officially opened because it was never opened, it can serve the officers in the southern and southwestern division as well, and we can keep moving on because Tobago is in dire need of a police hospital as well. And you know, this is fundamental things that we should have as police officers, to feel valued for the work that we put out there when we leave our families at home and we go out there to battle. You know, these are some of the simple things.
And these are things that one would think that have been put in place by whoever was functioning in capacity of this organization. So many times we've heard about that. I mean, where officers have to, go through hell when they go to the hospital. And I think once one is injured in the line of duty, there should be a priority as far as to assist these officers, assist their families, get them back, rehabilitation. Another thing is housing. There was so much talk that was being bandied about that a percentage of homes will be put aside by HDC to make sure that those living in certain areas who are carrying out their jobs will be able to protect their families and loved ones. Yet today we still hear officers crying out for home ownership and all of these things. But again, there are some officers who need to take in consideration, make that a priority before you go out there and buy that car with all them fancy rims. You have a job, understand that. It may not be the best paying job, but at the same time, have some consideration, have some common sense that that job is long term. Secure your family, secure your interests. Forget about that car. Don't want to have yourself in unnecessary loans. And demand better housing for these officers. Whatever happened to that, Ms. Paul? A certain percentage to make sure that those living in high-risk areas can have a home for their family to protect them.
Well, what would have happened in 2007, the HDC would have developed a scheme for the distribution of the houses, right?
Right.
Where 60% would go in a random draw, 25% were for another class of individuals, 10% were for protective services, and 5% were for pensioners. What Voices in Blue are proposing at the moment now, I would like and hope that the Minister of Housing is on listening, or the message gets back to him. That's the Honorable Mr. David Lee.
Yes.
Right. What we are proposing from Voices in Blue is that 10% is not enough. 10%, if HDC decides they have 100 units ready for distribution, 10% of that 100 units is 10. We have 5 different arms of the protective services. 5 into 10 is 2. Police officers would be entitled to 2 houses. So what Voices in Blue are proposing is add 15% of police officers in the random draw, the 60% that is allocated for random draws. Put 15% of police officers in that random draw, where we stand a better chance to get homes. And we also are trying to encourage the probationers, the young police officers that just came out of training college, to be in this system. So when they get here now and they acquire a house early, if they intend to work throughout their service, by the time they retire, they should be finished paying for their homes. So their pension would just be for them to enjoy as they choose. So that's what Voices in Blue proposes, as far as the housing is
And what
concerned.
about, one of the things I don't hear about, what about advanced training? There are many officers who are very skilled, and there are many who want to go into different areas of advanced training, whether it be forensic, whether it be CSI, whatever the case may be. Why are these opportunities not being made available to them, that they can get time off to study and advance their skills and move up in the organization?
Well, Voices in Blue are lobbying for that as well. And we also look at the fact that most of the courses that are available is only through Cipriani Labor College. So Voices in Blue proposes to look at different other institutions to give people options of study, maybe like in HR or HSSE officers, so that way you can also be marketable outside of the police service.
Yeah, I'm very much concerned, and I'm certain that the public, those that are watching are very much concerned as well at a time where, you talk about crime and all that is taking place, that one would really and truly have to question this entire election process. I mean, if anything, we expect the TTPS to run their affairs with some level of accountability and transparency. And when I say transparency, I'm also talking about these so-called gas stations. We've heard many of them, of course, that have been under the governance of the TTPS. But no one is to say how much money these gas stations make, who are the shareholders, what is the money being used for, is it being, to help the officers? I mean, what's going on with that? Why is it that there's so much information that is not forthcoming?
Well, this is why, Mr. Mickie, Voices in Blue, we are proposing to show transparency, especially with the petrol stations. We intend to submit monthly income and expenditure slips, send it out, the reports, where the membership knows the income and the expenditure where those petrol stations are concerned. However, this question you are asking is such a relevant one, because on the team equity, a member that is running on that team is the general secretary on the sports club or something like that. So they should be able to answer why no audits were done before, why no statements and budgets and so on were put forward in the last 10 years. So this is why we need to be in there to fix that, because one of the first things Voices in Blue proposes to do is to have a forensic audit. We need to let the membership know what's going on with the funds
and the issue is that I have, I agree, the transparency, I spoke about that. These audits are necessary, but it's the silence that seems to go along with this after so many years. We only reach the audits when it seems as though, flour, water more than flour, and it's either 5 or 8 or 10 years. What are the other operatives doing? What are the other individuals who are part and parcel of this committee, this team that is supposed to be governing the interests of these officers? What are the other people doing? Are they just sitting there because they're benefiting, they're eating our food, they're staying quiet? How is that going to benefit anybody?
Well, this is why Voices in Blue came together. We are saying enough is enough. And this is why we wanted to make a difference, because Voices in Blue, each member of the slate would have had their own trials, and they know how it is to be able to reach out to an association and get no assistance. These people on this team, my team that I am running with, they have all gone through challenges, and we are saying no more. Vote Voices in Blue. That's what we are saying, Mr. Mickie.
I have to ask you again, before we're going to take a short break, I want you to hold on. I want to bring in Savian Campbell, who is the former president of the TNT Municipal Police Service Association. Retirees. Well, is there a plan for the retirees? Because, you have some people there that if you pick their brain, they have a lot to offer, and they can tell you. You have men and women who could come on the scene of a crime and start putting things together and piecing it from A to Z. Why are they left out of the equation?
Well, Mr. Mickie, what we have proposed for the retirees, that's a good question. Again, So one, we are looking at their pensions. And what Voices in Blue wants to introduce is a pension indexation system where in 1990, police officers would have gone home and their pension would have been $3,000. Today, with the cost of living rising all the time, their pension is still $3,000. What Voices in Blue are proposing is, with the pension indexation system, each time we lobby and police officers get a rise in salary, they get a back pay. The back pay would be for the serving officers, and the pensioners, the retirees, would also get a raise in their pensions to assist them to live comfortably with the rising cost of living. That is one of the things. We also have to look at the fact that retirees, they are still required for matters that are before the court. And without their evidence and their testimony, sometimes we won't be able to secure a conviction. So what we are also proposing is that you have a little stipend for them, because we don't know the situation. Look at what I just showed you, where the pension never moves. So to secure more convictions, have these people come with expert testimony and all these things, introduce a pension. That's what we want to do. But when they have to come out to court and these type of things. So we are looking at it. We are always open to suggestions from members, and we are here to listen, to be the voice for those that aren't heard.
All right, let's take a pin in there. We're going to take a short break. We're going to link with Mr. Savion Campbell, and we'll be right back. Hold where we are. Master Control?
Limiting chronic inflammation is important for so many conditions that occur.
I had a lot of pain 4 years ago.
I used to have pain in my knees and my hip.
Taking it for arthritis.
Omega XL saved my life.
Then I started to realize, but hey, I could use my hands, I don't have any pain.
All in all, I am pleased to say that the Omega XL has worked.
Husqvarna, a global leader in outdoor power equipment, known for its high performance, durable and innovative products, tested and proven by generations of professionals. Full after sales and
we are back. Thank you so much, Master Control. We are joined by the former president of the TNT Municipal Police Service Association, Mr. Savion Campbell. Good evening, sir.
Pleasant good night, sir, and pleasant good night to all listeners.
Yes, and we have Roxanne Paul on as well. Roxanne, you still there?
Yes, sir, I'm here still.
Thank you. A lot has been going on. First of all, your association was formed in what year?
Our association was formed in 2020.
2020. And has been able to sustain itself? I mean, as far as your membership fees and what have you?
Well, we would, as in all new associations, we would have the same problems, but it's just about convincing the members to tell them why they need an association and why it is important.
And tell us, give us an idea of the association. You said in 2020, prior to that, of course, what was going on?
Okay. Well, first of all, I really feel the need to really bring my greetings to Mr. Roxanne Paul. I really love the direction that this slate is headed in terms of bringing the truth and sticking to integrity and these sort of things, in terms of not manipulating certain situations, to their advantage. But as it pertains to our association, we would have formed because we would have needed to negotiate terms and conditions for municipal police, and the former TPS association would have assisted us, and we are grateful in that. But as it pertains to the law, we really need to branch out on our own and look to develop our initiatives. So that was the initiative in 2020, and we are trying to currently get the 51% to get the recognition so we can stand before the CPO, sir.
All right, and prior to that, well, of course, you know, your membership is how much now?
Well, our membership is steadily growing, but at this point in time, our membership is 180 financial membership, and we are currently on a recruitment drive to really get the 51% so we can really negotiate for the municipal police.
Understand. So you're basically still growing. Okay. Now, has there been challenges as far as a lack of transparency, things that have not been forthcoming? I mean, because I know getting out of the start would be a bit, you know, it would be a bit risky at first. You know, give us an idea when it started off, some of the challenges to get the information forthcoming and also to deal with the financial aspect of it.
Okay, well, it would have started off well. I'm glad because we have a rich history as it pertains to our work alongside the TTPS. Back in the days of Mr. Sears and Mr. Ramasa, we would have met and we would have decided that we really needed to form our own association because the regulations would have stated certain things. Yes, we would have had a good relationship. The TTPS association would have assisted municipal police along the years, but their assistance could only have gone certain places. We needed to really negotiate our terms and conditions, so we decided to form our own association, and we are currently in the stage of negotiating with the CPO, but we would like to encourage the membership join and let us move this association forward as it pertains to the present dynamic with the TTPS association. I would really like to endorse Voices in Blue for being the integrity in all of this, because in all of the elections I have seen, this is the only slate that really stood on integrity and really stood on the facts. And that is my stance there, sir.
Now, going back again to the fact that you got some guidance from perhaps some of the seasoned individuals that were there. You mentioned some names and what have you. You were guided along the lines of what? Just give us an example.
Okay, we were guided along the lines because I don't know if everyone would have known the history, but the municipal police would have recently gotten their own regulations, because prior to that we had no regulation governing our entire service. But we would have reached the Privy Council, and that is where the government would have had to pay all these millions to our seniors and these sort of things for not having a regulation. But as the regulation comes in situation right now, we are currently looking to take advantage of this and move forward soon.
All right. I want to thank you so much. You can hold right there. So, Roxanne, looking at all that has transpired, and again, I'm certain that people who are watching, looking on and saying then, why is all of this bacchanal, all of this that is taking place? One would expect that anything coming out of the TTPS when dealing with the interests of the officers, again, there would be information forthcoming, and there would, of course, be some transparency. Tomorrow is the election. You know, what can members expect? Because really and truly, what we're witnessing here does not make sense. The integrity of this entire process has been compromised. You know, it just doesn't feel right when, in fact, there seems to be something that is contradicting the rules that have been laid out for years that people have to abide by.
Well, first of all, I must say to the ex-president of the Municipal Association that he's quite welcome for thanking us for championing their cause as well. And I hope at the end of this that his officers come home to roost. Now, moving forward, I believe the situation should be fixed before there's any election, And this is what Team Voices in Blue is saying. Fix it. We are not saying that we don't have the SRP's interest at heart. It's because we do. Our campaign manager is an SRP. And the thing is, with the SRPs, it would have been so simple. A long time ago, all they had to do was get the proper legislation drafted to amend the SRP Act to have them included in the TGPSSWA. And it's just about doing the right thing. But when the wrong thing has been practiced for so long, it seems as if it's right. We are there for everyone, and Voices in Blue intends to ensure that the SRPs are a part of the association in the legal way.
Ms. Paul, I want to thank you so much for taking time out to of course, bring forward all these issues. I want to invite you, of course, to give an update next Sunday right here on The Observer. We're going to keep at this because until they get it right, I think it's only fair that there be a free and fair elections, especially what's at stake. And that's the men and women who put their lives on the line every day to make that ultimate sacrifice to protect the citizens of this country. And I don't believe that they should be shortchanged in any form or fashion, that what has to be done must be done right or not done at all. Bottom line. Any closing comments?
No, I would love to return next week and give you an update, Mr. Mickie, and I would like to thank you for airing of views today on the eve of the election. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. As well as a pleasant evening to you, Mr. Campbell, Ms. Paul. Keep up the good work, and we'll be keeping an eye on how things develop. And I know those who can make a difference better understand that people are not just going to sit by and remain silent when there's so much that needs to be done and needs to be fixed. Bottom line, thank you to both of you.
You're welcome.
Folks, we're going to open up the lines. I want to take your calls. Those of you who want to make a direct call, don't forget the numbers that we have here. You can call 225-9790, 225-9790. If you want to make a WhatsApp call, 494-0938, 494-0938. Get on the inside before we close off for the evening. Of course, you heard from the Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs, the Honorable Dr. Rudal Munilal, Attorney at Law, Kyle Takla Singh, and he had a lot to say and very interesting indeed. You know, while everyone is screaming that the sky is falling, he was able to put things in the right perspective. And of course, we heard from Ms. Roxanne Paul, one of the candidates that was taking place in the upcoming elections of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Social and Welfare Association, as well as the former president of the TNT Municipal Police Service Association, Mr. Savian Campbell. The lines are open. Let's hear from the good folk. Good evening.
Good afternoon, Mickie K.
Good, yes indeed.
Real program, Ann Brown here.
Yes, Ann Brown, go ahead.
I have a question for Ms. Roxanne. Apparently she's off this program now, but when she returns next week after election, what she has in place for widows after their husband has died in collecting their widow and orphan pensions. That process takes between 9 to 10 months to get any benefits, and what under their leadership, what they're going to be putting in place to alleviate that problem for the officers' wives, or vice versa. It's a troubling process. I would like to get some answers on that, please, when she returns next week.
Definitely, Ann Brown, we will ask that. I'm going to make a note of that. Again, I believe there are so many things that, you know, we haven't touched on when it comes to, of course, helping these members of the TTPS. And I agree with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, the lines are open, 225-9790, 225-9790. And for those of you wanting to make a WhatsApp call, of course, you can call 494-0938, 494-0938. We heard from the Honorable Rudal Munilal, and again, he was talking about all of the things that are in place, you know, Grenada, Suriname, Guyana, when in fact we were only hearing about just one opportunity, and that one opportunity, of course, wasn't going to be bearing any fruit to benefit us at the people. Let me say a pleasant good night. Welcome, good evening.
Very good, Mickie. How are you going?
All right.
Hey, Mr. Your details on the ground report, man. Yeah,
I'm back, don't worry.
You come back?
Yes.
Well, I want to know, right? When you bring it back, we partner David Long pocket back into the country. He needs to invest.
Yeah.
He needs to come back and invest in the country. Right? We need him back. Bring him back, Mr. Mickie. Bring back David Long pocket.
I agree with you.
I hear a press conference this morning, Mickie.
Yeah.
I flabbergasted at some of the things I hear. Now, don't get me wrong, I support the UNC and what they're doing, but some of the things they're doing is wrong side. That press conference should have taken place last week, before they nullified all these contracts in TPM, right? But what I hear now is with regards to Stuart Young pension, they go into the Senate, and the government would need the support of 4 independent senators in order for that to pass. Now we see all the independent senators voting, or so-called independent senators. So the question will be asked on them if they're independent enough to go against the will of the people now, because this is not only a UNC bill being passed here to negate Mr. Stuart Young pension, you know. It's something that the public has seen it fit not to support. So I want to know if them is mad enough to go against the public will, because not only the UNC, like I say, the public is against this man getting this thing. So all eyes will be on those senators, some of those so-called independent senators. So whether they will vote yea or nay on that. And if they vote for Stuart Young to keep that, well, boy, they will make it to the board. Have a good night, Mike.
Thank you so much, my friend. Again, the lines are open, 225-9790, 225-9790, or 494-0938. Want to hear from you there on the outside. Yeah, you're right, really and truly. And again, you know, there are those who will always try to find an opportunity to put their political agenda at the forefront, to gain some political traction. Because so much has taken place, and there was no band of lawyers, that's how they put it, a band of attorneys, all coming out to see how best they can help now. The sky is falling, 10,000 workers and what have you. Listen, I think by now we understand that the contractors are the ones who, of course, will be directly affected. The workers will be absorbed by other contractors. So they will not be on the breadline. They will be working. And then it also makes you, you know, wonder, well, were people expecting too much or more that CPEP could offer? I mean, you know, there are people with these programs believe it's their God-given right to have it, to be a part of it. And so we need to find out how was it sold to these contractors from their party, their government, that they were part and parcel of this program. You know, that they believe that they must have had some sort of privilege to be there. So all of these are things that we have to look at. But moving forward, the line minister, Mr. Parra, made it clear that there will be some changes. It would not be something that people can be stuck in there for 6 and 8 years. I think once you have the training and you're able to venture out and you're able to see how best you can run your affairs, then you go out and take part in different endeavors. And just to remind you, vitamin XL-D3 provides the most natural and absorbable form of vitamin D, which promotes whole body health, which is crucial for cellular health, especially regarding the cells of the immune system. Every cell in your body needs vitamin D3 to function properly, so please pick up your bottle of vitamin XL-D3 today. I'm very much disappointed in the way that this entire election in the TTPS is being conducted. To come in the 11th hour and say that somebody looking at the rules, looking at everything that has been laid out in black and white, is eligible to participate, and it contradicts everything that was laid out before. Why not? Why no? I mean, you have legal advice, people weigh in and say that this said individual is not eligible. And it really makes you wonder. I spoke about these petrol stations, and Ms. Paul did as well. Who's gaining from this? Who's getting this money? What is this money going to do? Is it helping any of the officers as far as to get school books for their children, uniforms? Who's getting this money? Because these stations are up and running, they're operating, but you don't hear anything about it. And it always seems again that we live in a country where only when we reach to the end of it all that we start asking for the proper thing to be done. We do the last thing first and the first thing last. Then you start hearing about audits, and you start hearing about, things that are raising red flags, and things that were not submitted, and information that was not forthcoming. All of that only after it has run its course. What about the people who are sitting there next to the people who are making the decisions, who are making the tough, or should I say, making these choices that are not going to be benefiting the people who are the stakeholders? Why is there always silence? And only until the storm comes, you start hearing everybody adding their 2 cents. Something is wrong, and it has to stop. If we want to upgrade ourselves to a society that is going to be functioning, and there's an understanding of what accountability and transparency is, then we need to start doing business a whole lot different. And we need to start standing on what is right. Right is right. Stop it. As our good friend, Reverend Mr. Chubby would say, the deceased. Folks, this brings us to the end of our program. It's 7 p.m. Again, it's been a pleasure. We'll be right back here, God willing, next Sunday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's right, it's The Observer, the magazine show that's going to give you all the information that you need. And yours truly, I am very much committed and dedicated to being here and sharing this information with you. Our website is basically up. I'm going to tell you more about that next Sunday, where many people have been asking me to access the shirts and the t-shirts and what have you, and other products, so you'll be able to access that and get onto our website and get many things and a lot of information as well. So I'm looking forward next week, Sunday, to share that with you. Until then, be safe, and remember, as always, we're observing while the action is taking place. Have a good one, be safe out there, and have a productive week ahead. God bless.
The Observer. Mickie,